Isthmuses of the World, written by Edward Allen Kurtz. Contents at a glance. What is an isthmus? An isthmus is a type of land bridge that connects two larger areas of land. An isthmus is bordered by two bodies of water, one on either side. An isthmus is usually a narrow piece of land. The opposite of an isthmus is a strait. An isthmus is a piece of land that connects two larger pieces of land and is separated by two bodies of water, while a strait is a narrow body of water that connects two larger bodies of water to each other and lies between two large areas of land. Let's learn more about isthmuses. How an isthmus is formed. An isthmus can be formed in several different ways. One way is when tectonic plates move. The Earth's crust is made up of many huge plates called tectonic plates. These plates are like pieces of a giant jigsaw puzzle. These plates move. Sometimes they collide, and sometimes one slides on top of another plate. They form things like mountains and isthmuses. They also cause things like earthquakes to happen. Another way an isthmus forms is when sea levels fall and land that was underwater is now above sea level. Tombolos. What is a tombolo? A tombolo is a special type of isthmus. It forms when tides and waves push sand around so that a thin strip of land is created between the mainland or coastline and an island near the coast. This narrow strip of land is called a sandbar, and the coastal island is called a tide island. This is because the sandbar ties the island to the mainland. There are several well-known tombolos, like the Rock of Gibraltar. This is a tide island connected by a tombolo to the mainland of southern Spain. Isthmuses and people. Isthmuses have been important throughout world history. This is because they are good places for ports, where trading ships can anchor. But a ship cannot cross over an isthmus. So what can it do if it wants to sail from the body of water on one side of an isthmus to the body of water on the other side? It must sail a great distance around one of the large areas of land that is connected to the isthmus. Another way is to unload cargo off the ship and carry it across the isthmus to another ship on the other side. But there's another way. Canals. Canals are man-made channels of water that cut across an isthmus so that ships can sail from one body of water through the canal and continue sailing on the other side of the canal. This is an important way for ships to save time. This means that they do not have to sail for long distances so that they can get around the large land masses that are connected to isthmuses. There are two famous canals that cut across two different isthmuses that separate two huge continents, the Panama Canal and the Suez Canal. The Panama Canal. The Panama Canal cuts across the Isthmus of Panama, which connects two continents, North America and South America. On one side of the isthmus is the Atlantic Ocean, and on the other side is the Pacific Ocean. For hundreds of years, ships had to sail far to the south and pass through the dangerous waters at the tip of South America in order to pass between these two great oceans. In 1914, when the Panama Canal opened, it allowed ships to cross from one ocean to the other in about 10 hours, instead of many weeks. The Suez Canal. The Suez Canal cuts across the western side of the isthmus that is called the Sinai Peninsula. It is not as narrow as some other isthmuses, but it is the area of land that connects two continents, Africa and Asia. It separates two large bodies of water, the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea, which connects to the Indian Ocean. For hundreds of years, European ships had to sail around the tip of Africa to get to Asia. When the Suez Canal was finished in 1869, ships could quickly sail from the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean. The Corinth Canal. The Corinth Canal is a canal that cuts through the narrow isthmus of Corinth. This isthmus connects the Peloponnese Peninsula to the mainland of Greece. On the west of this isthmus is the Gulf of Corinth, which is a part of the Mediterranean Sea, and on the east is the Saronic Gulf in the Aegean Sea, also a part of the Mediterranean Sea. There are no locks on this canal, and it is interesting to see because of its steep sides. By cutting a canal across the Isthmus of Corinth, the Peloponnese Peninsula became an island. Famous isthmuses. The Isthmus of Gibraltar. The Rock of Gibraltar is a very famous island off the southern coast of Spain. Gibraltar is a tied island and is owned by Great Britain. The Rock of Gibraltar is located near the place where the Mediterranean Sea connects to the Atlantic Ocean. So this area has been important to traders and explorers for hundreds of years. The narrow sandbar that connects the island to the mainland of Spain is an example of a tombolo. On this small isthmus, there is an airport, a beach, houses, a marina, a high school, and a sports stadium. Famous isthmuses. The Isthmus of Kra. The Isthmus of Kra is located in southern Thailand and is the narrowest part of the Malay Peninsula. It is only 27 miles wide. The Malay Peninsula stretches from Thailand and Burma or Myanmar in the north to Malaysia in the south. The isthmus connects the lower area of this peninsula with the northern area, which is connected to the Asian mainland. The Gulf of Thailand, part of the South China Sea, which is a part of the Pacific Ocean, lies on the east, and the Andaman Sea, part of the Indian Ocean, lies on the west. Famous isthmuses. The Isthmus of Perekop. The Isthmus of Perekop is a very narrow isthmus that connects the Crimean Peninsula to the mainland of Ukraine. This isthmus is only 4 miles wide. It is named after the fortress of Perekop. On the west of the isthmus is the Black Sea, and on the east is the Svash Sea, which is also called the Rotten Sea, because it is shallow and in the hot summer it produces an unpleasant odor. The Crimean Peninsula was an important area throughout history, and many countries fought over it, including the ancient Greeks. Famous isthmuses. The Karelian Isthmus. The Karelian Isthmus is an isthmus located between the Gulf of Finland and Lake Ladoga in northwestern Russia. For several hundred years, it changed ownership between Finland and Russia. Today, it is part of Russia. St. Petersburg one of Russia's most important cities, lies on the southwest corner of the isthmus. Although there are no mountains on the Karelian isthmus, there are hills. It is covered with pine trees, and there are many animals that live here like boar, red fox, mountain hare, moose, and red squirrel. Famous isthmuses. Mount Maunganui. Mount Maunganui is an isthmus that is located in the Bay of Plenty on the North Island of New Zealand. This isthmus is a sandbar, so it is an example of a tombolo. It connects the mainland to Mount Maunganui, which is an extinct volcano. The town on the isthmus is also called Mount Maunganui. The isthmus is so narrow that near the volcano it is only a couple of blocks between the ocean on one side and the harbor on the other side. The town is a popular place to visit during Christmas and for New Year's Eve. Interesting facts. The word isthmus comes from the Greek word isthmos, which means neck. The Panama Canal stretches for about 50 miles across the Isthmus of Panama. The Panama Canal was begun by a Frenchman named Ferdinand de Lesseps, but because of problems he had to stop work on the canal, and the project was finished many years later by the United States. The plural of isthmus can be either isthmuses or isthmi. This is one of the few words in English that begins and ends with a vowel and has no other vowels in between. The Suez Canal is about 120 miles long. The Isthmus of Darien is another name for the Isthmus of Panama. Seattle, a city in the state of Washington, in the United States, sits on an isthmus between Puget Sound and Lake Washington. There is a narrow 9-mile-wide isthmus on the Kenai Peninsula in southern Alaska, with the Cook Inlet on one side and Prince William Sound on the other side. The waves on the harbor side of Mount Maunganui are gentle, while the waves on the ocean side are sometimes dangerous. Isthmuses are found in many places, even on islands. The Poy-Asok Isthmus is found on the Russian island of Sakhalin. One important thing about isthmuses is that they make it possible for animals to cross from one large land mass to another. The Bering Land Bridge was an isthmus that connected Northeast Asia with the northwestern corner of North America, but this land bridge is now under the Bering Strait.